But then we feel worse because now we've just impulse bought this item that we weren't budgeting for. So now we're guilty. Now we can't even afford to go out even if we wanted to. Okay, and then this cycle of isolation continues. Whilst all along it's actually doing a far deeper damage than what we see on the surface.
This idea of post-lockdown isolation, I think a lot of people are struggling to delineate between what it means to be independent and what it means to be isolated in a post-COVID world. A lot of people have gotten used to working at home. How do we delineate between being isolated and being independent? And how do you operate healthily in a post-COVID world?
The Cambridge Dictionary defines isolation as to be separated from, not connected, whilst independent means free from control. COVID hits, then lockdowns kick in, right? We see this global push for people to stay home and therefore stay safe. It's programmed us, creatures of habit, to come to terms with and accept separation from loved ones, colleagues, our community, which has now become, for many people, our normal. What was rammed down our throats during a global pandemic was that isolation equates to safety. And yes, within the confines of a pandemic. And of course, it was evidenced, that it did slow down the spread, right? However, there hasn't been this global drive to bring people back together post-COVID. Here's the scary thing. In our post-COVID era, not all habits are healthy. Many have remained in the habit of isolation, which has actually resulted in dependence, not independence. Humans are wired for human connection. We are not wired to be alone. I have said this before. I'm a born-again Christian. I love the Lord. And so I will reference the Bible for a moment. Genesis 2 verse 18 says, "It is not good that man should be alone." So when you're isolated, you will seek out any means for connection. So if it's a TV show, that's great, but it's limited, because you're not in on the script. Whereas the internet allows you in on the conversation. We become connected online. We comment, we like, we hate, we do whatever. I know our voices can actually be a little bit more blatant online than we would if we were face to face. So we're inadvertently ticking the boxes of human connection, but we are a part of a world that carries with it this lure, or this ability, if you want to be a little bit more PC, to feed on existing habits and induce new ones. The internet, I'm going to be honest with you, feeds on isolation. The more isolated we are, the more dependent we become, and therefore the more time spent on it, right? I remember when I was living in London, if ever I had a bad day, I would ring up my sister and we'd get dressed up and then we'd go and hit the shops for some retail therapy. Well, the internet is a labyrinth of retail therapy, feeding goodies, literally at the click of a button. So here's a cycle, and I'm just going to paint it in picture form for you, We feel lonely, right? We go online, we comment, we like, we hate, whatever, but we still feel empty and alone. We see a bag suddenly pop up on our screen and we spend, because it ticks a box for a little moment of, awesome, I've got this bag that I'm expecting to come through the post. But then we feel worse because now we've just impulse bought this item that we weren't budgeting for. So now we're guilty. Now we can't even afford to go out even if we wanted to. And then this cycle of isolation continues. Whilst all along it's actually doing a far deeper damage than what we see on the surface.